The types of tax notices from Income Tax Department and how to deal with it. An income tax notice is a formal communication from the Income Tax Department stating that there is an issue with your tax return or tax payments. Reasons to issue income tax notice. There are several reasons why a tax authority may issue an income tax notice. Some common reasons include discrepancies in your tax return. If the tax authority has identified any errors or discrepancies in your tax return, they may issue a notice requesting that you provide additional information or make corrections to your return. Failure to file a tax return. If you are required to file a tax return and fail to do so, you may receive a notice requesting that you file your return. Failure to pay taxes. If you owe taxes and fail to pay them on time, you may receive a notice requesting payment. Underreporting of income. If the tax authority believes that you have underreported your income, they may issue a notice requesting additional information or payment of any taxes owed. Claiming ineligible deductions or credits. If you have claimed deductions or credits that the tax authority believes you are not entitled to, they may issue a notice requesting that you provide additional information or pay back any improperly claimed amounts. Auditing. If you are selected for an audit, you may receive a notice requesting that you provide additional information or documentation to support the items reported on your tax return. Types of notices under income tax. The Income Tax Department may issue several types of notices to individuals and businesses for various purposes. Some common types of income tax notices include notice of demand. This notice is issued when there is a pending tax liability that needs to be paid. It specifies the amount due and the deadline for payment. Notice of assessment. This notice is issued after the tax authority has completed processing your tax return and specifies the amount of tax that you owe or the refund that you are entitled to. Notice of loss or deficiency. This notice is issued if the tax authority determines that there is a loss or deficiency in your tax return, and it specifies the amount of the loss or deficiency. Notice of reassessment. This notice is issued if the tax authority believes that there are errors or discrepancies in your tax return and requires you to file a revised return. Notice of hearing. This notice is issued if the tax authority has scheduled a hearing to discuss a tax matter with you. Notice of appeal. This notice is issued if the tax authority has received an appeal from you or if you have the right to appeal a decision made by the tax authority. Section applied in income tax notice. An income tax notice may refer to various sections of the tax law that are applicable to the issue being addressed in the notice. Here are some examples of sections that may be mentioned in an income tax notice. Section 139. This section of the Income Tax Act relates to the filing of tax returns. It specifies the requirements for filing a tax return and the consequences of failing to file a return. Section 143. This section of the Income Tax Act relates to the assessment of tax. It specifies the procedures that the tax authority must follow when assessing the tax liability of a taxpayer. Section 148. This section of the Income Tax Act relates to the reassessment of tax. It allows the tax authority to reopen a tax assessment and make changes to it if they believe that there are errors or discrepancies in the original assessment. Section 234. This section of the Income Tax Act relates to interest on tax. It specifies the circumstances under which interest is payable on unpaid tax and the rate at which it is calculated. Section 271. This section of the Income Tax Act relates to penalties for tax evasion. It specifies the circumstances under which a taxpayer may be subject to a penalty for evading or attempting to evade tax. Measures to deal with income tax notice. If you have received an income tax notice, it is important to take the following steps to deal with it effectively. Read the notice carefully. Make sure you understand the reason for the notice and the specifications that are requested. Gather the necessary information and documents. If the notice requests that you provide additional information or documentation, make sure you have everything you need before responding. Respond to the notice promptly. Make sure you meet any deadlines that are specified in the notice. Keep copies of all correspondence. It is important to keep copies of all correspondence related to the tax notice, including any responses that you send and any documents that you provide. Pay any taxes and penalties that are due. If you owe taxes or penalties, make sure to pay them on time to avoid incurring additional interest or penalties. What will happen if not replied to the income tax notice in a specific time? If you do not respond to an income tax notice within the specified time frame, it is possible that you may incur additional penalties and interest, and in some cases, legal action may be taken against you. The specific consequences of not responding to an income tax notice will depend on the nature of the notice and the laws of the jurisdiction in which you are required to pay taxes. In general, it is important to take all income tax notices seriously and to respond to them promptly. Ignoring a tax notice can result in significant financial consequences and may also damage your credit rating and reputation. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe this channel for regular updates.